Alright y'all, I got me a new recipe to make my own bread. It involves 3 ingredients. You're going to want all-purpose flour. Okay, we hear you. Thanks for helping with the bread making. We have all-purpose flour. We just have unbleached flour. You don't need unbleached flour, but we're using that. We got just regular fine salt, and we got the quick rise instant yeast. And this is just regular dry yeast. Alright, so you're going to want 3.5 cups of flour. You're going to want 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of the yeast. Now I found this recipe from a kind lady on the TikToks, and I'm going to reference her video and I believe her website on the video description below. Her name's Vonnie M, and I think her username is actually Vonnie M and Kids on TikTok if you want to search her up. Well, I know I said 3.5 cups, but we're going to try to measure this in grams just to be more precise. You're going to want 520 grams of flour. That's 1 cup. That's 2 cups. That's 3 cups. And that's 3.5 cups right there, which brings us actually to 527 grams. So I'm going to take a little bit of this out and get it right on 520. All right, there we go. So I'm not taking out much, but it was just a little bit less. That might have been my fault. I tried to scrape it even on top, but I might not have done exactly right. All right, you're going to want about 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to see what happens when I put this in and see if the grams measurement changes to 8 grams. You're going to want 8 grams. Okay, so that only gave us 6 grams. Okay, that got us to 8 grams. Then you're going to want 1/2 teaspoon, like I said, of instant yeast or dry yeast, and that's going to be 4 grams. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 1/2 teaspoon in, and that brings us up to 10 grams with the salt and the yeast. And there's another 2 grams, hopefully, maybe a little bit more. So after you get all that ingredient, all those 3, the flour, the salt, and the yeast, it's going to look about like that. Then you're going to mix all that together, which I'm going to do right now. And then we're going to add 2 cups of water. And you're not going to add, according to Vonnie M on her recipe, she did not add the entire amount of 2 cups of water. It was more like 1 and maybe 7/8 of a cup. All right, here we go. I mixed up the dry stuff. I'm adding 1 cup of water into this for the time being. And then I'm going to slowly add the next cup of water. I'm just going to stir it and kind of get it mixed together. Then we're going to add the other cup in just a second. All right, we're adding this is the second cup of water. I'm not going to add it all right now. I'm just going to kind of mix it up and see what it looks like. All right, I went ahead. I didn't fill the cup all the way to the top, so I know that was not 2 cups total. All right, so now we got that. So that's what it's gonna look like when you get it all mixed up, those 4 ingredients, the flour, the yeast, the salt, and the water. And after you mix it up real well, you're just gonna wanna cover the entire bowl with cling wrap like I've done. It's almost so clear you can't even see it, but I've got cling wrap on top of the bowl, and I'm gonna leave that sitting for about 4 to 6 hours, and it's about 2:30 in the afternoon right now, so I'm gonna come back around 6 or 7 tonight, and then I'm gonna put it in the oven. All right, it's been about 6 hours now since I covered this up, so I'm taking the cover off, and you can see it looks pretty good. just sprinkling some flour. I reckon that should be good. Now I'm going to try to transfer this. We'll just get the best we can. I don't know if I'm supposed to be throwing it like that. Might be messing up that yeast. But I don't know anything about baking bread. I say breaking. Okay. Now I got my left hand clean with this stuff, so I'm gonna just dump some more flour on top. Well, that's probably too much. But anyway, y'all get the point. I'm just gonna flip this over and make sure. I'm just gonna make sure any sticky parts are covered with flour. And I believe most of them are. So this is the time to do any, like Vonnie M said, this is the time to do any decorative, any liberties you want to take on the creative side. This is the time to do it before you put it in the oven. You don't want to cover it. Well, I don't think this is necessary, but you want to cover it up with a bowl, and that's going to sit for 30 minutes before we put it in the oven. And while that's sitting, we're going to turn this on to about 425. So right about there, or 430, something like that. And I'm gonna go ahead, this is my Dutch oven. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in there and get this Dutch oven good and warmed up. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the lid in there too. All right, so that'll warm up, and that should probably take hopefully less than 30 minutes. It's already warming up now. It's been a little over 30 minutes now, and the oven has reached 425 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this Dutch oven out. So it's been sitting under this bowl for 30 minutes. Well, actually more like 35 or 40. I'm just gonna take this whole thing, and I'm gonna dump it right into just set it right down into that Dutch oven. That's what you should look like right there. Now with the lid on, I'm gonna put it in the 425 degree oven for 35 minutes. Then after 35 minutes, I'm gonna take the lid back off and leave it back in the oven for 10 minutes. So a total of 45 minutes in the oven, 35 minutes with the lid on, 10 minutes with the lid off. That's what it looks like fresh out of the oven.